Hello again everyone from Tokyo, Japan, and welcome back to Japan Vintage Camera. Today's video is not going to be about a vintage Japanese camera or anything else vintage for that matter, unless I'm describing the autofocus on this particular camera. Today's video is going to be about the digital cameras which I use to make my videos. I noticed that a lot of my subscribers, not that I have a huge amount of subscribers, but some of them have YouTube channels of their own, and those who might be interested in finding a good camera for shooting videos might find this video useful. So I began this channel, I think it was in July of 2018 or so, and when I began making videos, I got this camera here. This is a Canon G7x Mark II. I bought it on Amazon and it was about $500 or so here in Japan, and I was very happy with it. When I got it, I liked how it worked. Everything, it shot good video, great stills. The autofocus was very good on it, and I captured a lot of good videos with it. But one problem which I have with the G7X Mark II, and which became a bigger problem later on, was the lack of a place where I could plug in an external microphone. Now, if I'm shooting indoors, as I am right now, the internal microphone is very adequate and catches decent video. But we had the COVID crisis, which everyone, of course, is aware of. And during that, my daughter wasn't going to school anymore, and my wife began working from home. And so it was kind of difficult for me to make videos at home with people working and playing in the background. So I began shooting more videos outdoors. And when the summer months came along and started to get windier weather and a lot of insects and background noise, I had complaints about the quality of the audio in my videos. So I decided I needed to get a camera which had external audio capability. And as I wanted a camera which was like the G7X Mark II, which I really liked, I decided that maybe the G7X Mark III was a good option. For one thing, both cameras, as you can see, are pretty much identical. All the controls and everything are pretty much exactly the same. But that the G7X Mark III adds 4K video capability, and it adds a jack to attach an external microphone. So I thought I'll go ahead and get it. And the last thing, which was the deciding factor, was the fact that it used the same kind of batteries. So I bought a number of spare batteries off of Amazon for my G7X Mark II because I'm very bad at making videos, and it usually takes, numerous takes to get a video that without mistakes and which I like, and I tend to run through 1 or 2 batteries when I'm trying to make a video. So, being able to use my old batteries in this camera and not having to really change anything, that made it quite attractive. So I went to the local camera shop where I buy a lot of electronic and household goods, and I bought this G7X Mark III. The price was quite high. It ran about $1,000, which is actually more than what it would cost in, say, America or Europe. But that's one of the drawbacks of living in Japan, is that the cost of Japanese goods here is often or almost always higher than what it's going to be in America or Europe. But anyway, we couldn't travel for obvious reasons, so I decided to go ahead and buy it, and I began using it. And right away, the very first day I began using it, I began to notice its shortcomings. The first thing I noticed was that the autofocus was painfully slow. And this camera arrived with the latest firmware, which had supposedly solved the autofocus issue, but the autofocus is slower than my old 2008 Lumix digital camera, which I'd used for a long time, and nowhere near as fast as the G7X Mark II. In my case, having a fast, long-range autofocus isn't so necessary, because when I'm doing a review of a camera, the cameras I am reviewing, I usually keep fairly close to the camera, and I don't move them around a lot, so the autofocus doesn't necessarily have to be fast. But I do run into problems when I'm trying to show something closely on the camera I'm reviewing. The autofocus on the Mark III is much slower than on the Mark II. I use the Mark II for taking photographs of the cameras I sell in my online stores, and I decided to use the Mark III for the same thing. But I found that unless I added an extra light to my photo box, it wouldn't focus. and it drove me nuts trying to take photos with this thing, and I don't use it for that purpose anymore. It's just pointless. I just use, you know, the older camera. I tried making a video with the 4K, and after about 8 minutes of shooting, the camera overheated and wouldn't work. So the 4K in this camera for any serious use is pretty much pointless. It's useless. You can't really even use it. And then the last thing which annoyed me was the battery situation. As I said, the batteries are... the batteries work pretty well in these. I put the original Canon battery in here and I start it back up, and the camera starts up and is ready to go instantly. The G7x Mark III has a faster processor, and all these kind of things are faster. But as I am a YouTuber, more or less, and I go through a lot of batteries, I had bought a lot of these Rowa made in Japan batteries. I found that if I put one in the camera and I power it up, the first thing, it takes longer for the camera to power up, and I get this message saying that the battery is not an original battery, and I have to go through a number of menus to be able to use an aftermarket battery. And then when I'm using the battery indicator doesn't work, so I don't know how much life I have left in the battery, which is kind of an important thing to know when you are making a video, how much more time you have on the battery. So had I known this when I bought the camera, I wouldn't have bought it. I'd have gotten something else. I know Canon is trying to get people to buy their ridiculously overpriced batteries, but for YouTubers who are not super rich and can't afford to buy a lot of Canon batteries as backups for their new camera, it's one of those things which is really annoying to me, and for me would be a deal breaker had I known before. The only positive thing other than the jack for an external audio is the processor is faster. If I'm taking a photograph, if I can get it to focus, which is I can't do in many situations, it transcribes it to the memory card more quickly. And also if I'm formatting the memory card, it does it much faster than the G7x Mark II. But for anyone who is in the market for a good 4K capable camera with external audio, the G7x Mark III is not a good option. I would avoid it. I'll go ahead and get rid of this camera. I think I can. I have the box and everything that it came with, and I can't return it now because I've had it too long trying to work with it. But I think it'll be a good holiday gift for a friend, and then I can go out and get a decent quality camera which I can actually use. Anyway, that's it for this video comparing the Canon G7x Mark II and the G7x Mark III. As I said, my videos are usually about vintage Japanese cameras. If you'd like to see videos about vintage Japanese cameras, please subscribe. I sell vintage Japanese cameras in my online stores, Etsy and eBay stores. If you're interested in buying one, please check the links to my stores in the description below the video. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you tune in again soon.